Welcome to the Copy Talk Podcast. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer member, FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Shannon Ross is CEO and managing partner of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, happy Thursday.
That was so jolly.
Video. We're on camera now.
Yeah,
we
are.
Fake it.
I know. Like,
this is like another layer of authenticity.
Well, an audience, just so you know.
Welcome, Copy Talk audience. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello.
You're not supposed to look in the
camera. I know,
camera,
we're not, but we just did.
It's okay.
Well, it's ours.
We're all about
we get to
breaking the
decide
rules.
this, right?
We do. Well, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you.
Happy day.
Happy
Me
day.
too. I love the summer.
Well, I know.
School's
about to start.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
You know, I'm not actually, usually sometimes I'm ready for school to start because it brings back structure.
Sure.
I'm not this year.
Yeah,
and maybe because of the uncertainty around the school year, we don't know. Although we did actually get a positive, I don't know if you know this, we don't have to get into this, but we had some positive news yesterday released from El Paso County. So,
good. Yeah, it was COVID still in the mix.
Yeah.
We didn't think this
Darn
time
Delta
next year
variant.
That 2021 would be
I know.
being dragged down a little bit, but that's all right.
That's okay.
We'll get through.
Yep, we're getting through.
All right. Well, welcome to the world of video. Have you ever been on camera before?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm practically famous. I don't think you I don't think you knew that, but no, not like recorded like this. Yeah. I mean, home videos. Yeah. I'm famous in my home on home videos.
Well, why we wanted to incorporate videos because, I think some of the things that happen behind the scene, it's always funny and I think just another view of a way to get to know us for our audience is to incorporate some video to the mix. So this is going on our YouTube channel that we are launching in the next week. We have our website, Copy Talk Podcast, launched.
Yes.
We're on Instagram and Facebook.
Look at us.
Look at us. We're like official.
Yes, yeah,
We're
we
on
are.
the radar now.
I know. Well, I will say I have never had to sit this close to you.
I know. We're really
So if
close.
you see us on...
I think I remember deodorant today.
I'm in your lap. So I'm glad we have good hygiene.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
But this is, I'm not normally on top of you.
I know.
Not literally, but yeah.
I can see, not literally.
Well, true.
Well, and with these launch of all these new platforms, we're tackling a whole new area of subject in a moment. But before we get there, it is Throwback Thursday, so I think we each had a little throwback to share.
But I can't. Mine ties into our topic, though.
Well, I'll
so you
share
go
mine
first. You go first.
So I love sitting in the sun, which is, I know, so bad for you. And I get more brown spots every day. I really don't
Should
care.
we start counting
So
which
I
ones
know. I think, oh my gosh, I'm in the hundreds. But whatever. I love it. It's probably good that I don't live in Florida or Arizona anymore or Texas full time because I would be like leather. But because I love to sit in the sun so much with sunscreen,
I love that.
I really wanted to find, when I was growing up, we always had these like jelly fold out lawn chairs that were like folded down and had a crank on them.
Yes.
And so,
like those kind. Okay. Yep.
And so I found one on eBay that I ordered from a gal in Texas, and it arrived last night. And it's blue and it's jelly material, which we've talked about jelly shoes and bracelets.
Yep.
It full out is so nostalgic for me. So last night, my
Vintage.
family's out on our deck, sitting on a really nice, regular lawn
couch and stuff.
I'm like, I'm getting my lawn chair out.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that.
It was me on my jelly lawn chair. And my kids are like, oh my gosh, Mom.
They're so
awesome.
cool,
I love
though.
it. It's my chair. I love it.
You watch, though. Your kids are going to start
name.
laying in that chair.
I know.
Yeah,
It's super
give her a
cool.
name. We always name her.
So
Give her a
excited.
name.
So that's my throwback.
I love that. I
Thursday.
can't wait to see it.
I know.
That will
It's
be nostalgic
cute.
for me, too. We had those.
It's very cute. It still had the tag on it, and I'm like, where is that from? Like 30 years ago? Like how many germs are on that tag?
What?
But it's like for its authenticity.
Oh, you thought about germs on the tag. My mind did not go there. My mind did not go there.
I did disinfect the chair before I started to lay on it. But
oh my gosh. I would never even think of that.
And I also wanted to share, because school does start, that I have one more item on my summer bucket list with my kids.
Which one?
Which feels like a huge feat that it started like with 15 things. So I know. Have one left.
That's impressive. I thought you'd gotten
COVID or not, we are doing it. So they really want to go to a trampoline park. So I was like, fine, whatever.
Wait a minute. You've never taken your kids to Sky Zone?
Oh, I have.
That's a trampoline park.
I know, but I have it this summer. This was specific to summer activities.
Gotcha.
So that is what we're doing tomorrow.
Are you going to Sky Zone?
There's a new one by our house I haven't tried yet. It's like called Trampoline World or
Fun.
Jump World. I don't know.
Oh, well, tell me about it.
I will.
So not that I want to take my son.
I'm so excited to get that list off my shoulders.
Good for you. You're such a good parent. I think our list considered of one item, and we did it. So. Oh my gosh.
Well, what is your Throwback Thursday? And then we can tie it into the subject today.
Okay, so when I was a little girl, I loved the comics in the newspaper. Yes, we're aging ourselves. Like the news, like that was how we read the newspaper. Yeah. My parents would save me the comics. My parents read them too. I think we called them the Funnies. I think I remember saying, "Did we have the Funnies?" Yeah. My mom can correct me after she hears this, but pretty sure I did call them that. And then of course the big section would come out on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday paper, like the full color 2-pagers. Yeah. Some of my favorites were Luann, obviously Peanuts. Like there was, anyways, we loved the Funnies. So in preparation for this show, for EQ, of course, and I cannot remember the show that I brought. Remember the one I brought jokes before?
Yes, your NASA joke.
I know it was corny, but it was funny. It made me laugh. Yeah. I can't remember what show that was.
I don't remember the joke either.
I don't remember the joke either. I don't even remember the show, or the topic. But to prep for this, I looked up EQ Funnies.
Oh, I like it.
I did.
Because we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence,
yep,
how to build intelligence about our emotions, and why it's important, because I know that there's going to be some doubters out there. I'm going to ask
you a question,
which I was one of the biggest doubters out there before I
know you were.
Started this.
With that and MBTI.
Yeah.
But so when I went on to find jokes, because I was going to surprise you with jokes, I found like a comic strip. And it was nostalgic for me because you don't see those anymore.
No, you don't.
And we don't even get a newspaper. Do we have a newspaper?
We do. I get it online.
Oh, the Gazette. Yeah. So I found a couple funnies that I was going to share.
Fun.
Can I read them to you now? Okay. Well, the first one, you're going to like this. This is me. This is like now the modern day. I've got a comic strip here, but the modern day one where it's just like a person sitting there and they're like kind of a black and white drawing, and then they have a little saying. So this first one is, sometimes my greatest accomplishment is just keeping my mouth shut, which I felt like I accomplished that this week. And sometimes but that's the first EQ funny. The second one, and this is the comic strip one. Okay, so there's a guy and he's reading like a report for his employees. And it says, a good leader is aware of employees' attitudes and feelings. And the next frame, he's standing up in front of the employees and he's saying, I'm very aware that some of you will be upset by these decisions. And the next frame, he says, so let me start out by saying, too bad. I thought that was funny.
Those do tie in. I like it.
Hold on, I have one more.
Yes.
I
love it.
Yeah. This guy is at an interview. Again, these are all funny drawings. You can't see them, audience, but and he's doing an interview, and the lady's looking at him.
Post it
and that's true. Yeah. And he says, "Yes, I think I have good people skills." What kind of an idiot question is that? That was my favorite one.
Those are great to tie in. I love
So those are my EQ funnies for us to kick off the show.
I think that's very good. Yeah.
For those of you out here that don't like this topic, I wanted to start with some levity, because there are some people that they're totally against these.
I totally understand. Yeah. Because no one wants to be in a box. No one wants to be told what to do. No one wants to be told who they are. And I was the biggest proponent of all those things.
So tell us, why don't you kick off? Why did you not like these to kind of?
Yeah, because I don't like boxes, and because of my personality, and we've talked about personality. My personality type is very, my temperament is very, it can be very standoffish. Like, just because you tell me something to do, just because you told me, I will bow up against it, whether I agree about it or not. So it's a very kind of like...
I know this about you, but every time you say it makes me laugh.
In Myers-Briggs, for those of you who have ever taken what's called MBTI assessments, I'm an NT temperament. So that's kind of a little bit more of you're more of a little bit trailblazer. You don't follow the crowd. You bow up when you're told to do things. It's more kind of a little standoffish, like I said. But so again, your personality is your personality. You have your personality is always growing, always blossoming. That's why I didn't like the box.
Okay.
Because it feels anything restrictive I don't like. And so I was very adamant about it. No, I mean, but I follow rules, which is funny.
Not when
but
you go
I
to
follow
paint with
rules
the
that
twist.
I make. Usually.
Not when you go to paint with the twist.
I know. Even when we go painting, like I am so annoying.
So you
to
know,
the poor
audience, like how they have the drawing at the
instructor.
front, and you're supposed to paint that picture. This is totally off topic, but this one we go to paint with the twist as a bestie date night, and we're finishing up, and I turn around and look at her picture, and it is all the opposite colors.
It is. It doesn't
Not just
look like
colors. It
anybody
doesn't look like anybody else is in the room. So yes, that does not surprise me.
I know.
A little extra
Can't
tidbit
help
about
it.
Shannon.
Yes.
A little fun factoid.
You never want to be a teacher in the class I'm in. So if you ever see me and you're the instructor, run.
Yeah.
Like, quit.
Because you're not following the rules.
No.
Versus me, I'm
Which
like
I've gotten
coloring
better,
in the
but
lines.
yeah, I know.
I'm doing all of like paint by number.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. But what's the
anyways.
difference between okay, so you have your personality type, but then what the whole world of building intelligence regarding your emotions, I feel, is not so much a box. It's actually tools that can really help you understand how you feel and why. It can help manage your own emotions. These tools that we're going to be kicking off and talking through, it helps you understand the emotions of yourself, but also others, and how to interpret emotional feedback that you receive. So instead of me, if you came to me and said, hey, I think you're being really bossy, my NT temperament would be like, screw you. No, I'm not. Right.
Or you would say, well, I'm your boss. So
right.
So that works out well.
Funny. So instead, if I'm using my tools of emotional intelligence, just being like, okay, here's what my gut reaction is, but I'm understanding that, and now I can buffer of it and be a better boss to you and be like, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Help me understand. Okay. What am I doing that's making you feel like I'm being bossy? So it leads to collaborative conversation and resolution, not just name calling and being mad. Right. I mean, so because it helps when we have the right emotional tools and understand them, it just helps us to be more effective and helps get us more meaningful conversations and relationships. So it ties a lot of what we're going to talk through, it ties into finance, it ties into our leadership skills, and most importantly, it ties into our relationships. I think before I knew, and that whole self-awareness world, that's what really helped me turn the tide. Because it wasn't so much about a box. It was helping me understand myself better so that I don't just always react out of my flesh, so that I don't always react in the first, gut reaction. I've learned to rein that in to be more collaborative, understanding. It makes me a better parent. It makes me a better spouse. It makes me a better friend. So it's really in the relationship world is why I decided to take a go of this. So I actually liked it better than personality assessments. Because, you liked EQ better than MBTI or Enneagram or those? Yeah, and Enneagram, I still can't get on. I know there are so many of you out there that love it. I can never remember what I am. I like it. I don't remember. All I know, there's numbers and there's wings and something, and I don't know. So I think it's just too complicated. Oh. I just don't. It's too spatial.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's like in school, geometry nearly killed me. I can't understand.
Really?
My brain has a real hard time with that kind of.
That surprises me.
Spatial kind of, and that's what I think of the Enneagram. Sorry, don't judge me.
I was about to say,
I don't understand it. That's why
I like Enneagram. So
but yeah,
I'm on your side. For
but I understand. So if you're hesitant as you're listening, it's okay. This is the safe place. You don't have to take an assessment. We're going to do that, and we're going to talk you through so that hopefully you can kind of, in a safe place, gain some knowledge that you might not be willing to gain, if it was a class or if it was a, something you were forced to do at work or what have you.
Well, and I think for those of you out there, because that were like Shannon in the past, I never disliked this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't see it as putting me in a box. I've always looked at it as, wow, I've always seen it from the self-awareness perspective and also from a communication with others perspective, especially in the workplace.
Yeah.
And with your husband being certified in MBTI and EQ, when he would do the workshops at the office, that was really eye-opening. I loved it. But for those that struggle with, why is this this even important? I did some research, and I really liked the way this one statement framed it. So, because some people are just IQ, which is great. You can be the most brilliant person in the world, though, and be socially inept, right? And so you really need to dial into some of these emotional intelligence pieces because it's more challenging for you. One of the statements that I read that I thought was really helpful was, your IQ can get you into college, but it's your EQ that's going to help you manage the stress when you take your finals.
Yep.
I thought that was a great way to differentiate between the two, and why EQ and IQ are in tandem together. They can be in tandem together to help you be the most successful. Yeah. Like you said, in relationship management, your
there's study after study that show, like, those who take this seriously and apply it, they double what their colleagues who don't in terms of sales performance or leadership or what they can motivate out of their employees. I mean, it's actually statistically proven, which also helps because it's not, it's been studied time and time again through very reputable organizations. So in the business world, absolutely, it's a game changer. Okay. They say, some of those studies show that IQ can predict between 1% and 20% of success, but EQ is directly responsible up to 45% of your job success. Wow. And you see this, like, think about it when you're a consumer. We always talk about this. If we go into a store where we're about to drop some cash, we want someone nice. We want someone kind and fun and create like an experience for us.
That's true.
We've walked out of stores when we're like, this is not fun. Like, totally. Well, if that person had better EQ,
you're right, because
they would have gotten that sale, right? So it's all of us, both for how we perceive ourselves, but also how we interact with others.
Well, because they could have all the knowledge of the product in the world, but their presentation, customer service, people skills, if they are just wretched,
right?
I'm out.
Yeah. You're like, this is not,
not why
I wanted an experience. Yeah. I didn't want just a transaction.
Just be nice to me.
Sure.
I don't even need just be kind.
Totally.
Okay, so what are we diving? I already took my EQ test, by the way.
I know. We'll talk about that. We won't talk about.
No, I don't get my results today.
No, you're not allowed to have your
very
results
sad.
yet. But
I was excited.
Is that bossy? You can't have them.
Yeah. So basically, you're the guy in the picture who just said, "Too bad."
I know.
Shannon just faltered in the podcast in EQ. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I'm still human.
We have to. Yes, you are. Well, no, you
are.
Well,
here are some telltale signs. You know me and my list. I'm like the David
lists.
Letterman of this, whatever. Yeah. That you need to work on your emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give some tips.
Okay.
Number one, you often feel like others don't get to the point, and it makes you impatient and frustrated. I'm guilty of that. Okay. You're surprised when others are sensitive to your comments or jokes, and you think they're overreacting.
Okay.
You think being liked at work is overrated.
Oh.
You don't care if no one likes you.
You don't care if people don't like you.
You weigh in early with your assertions and defend them with rigor.
Oh, so you're like aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you don't really care about what people
You're
think.
opinionated and
you
nobody's
give
changing your mind.
when no one's asked.
Okay.
Yeah. You hold others to the same high expectations you hold for yourself. I'm guilty on this, especially in parenting. And so we'll talk
parenting.
Mm-hmm. Because I tend to put very high expectations on myself, and it's self-actualization is the tool that we're going to talk through. We'll get there eventually. Okay. But because it's high, it's actually a bad thing. So it's not in EQ. It's not like if you are off the charts on some of them, it's good. But if you're off the charts on some of them, you're like, oh, you need to dial that down. Because like my daughter, who's super high achiever, but she has such pressure that I don't realize I'm putting on her because I put the same pressure on myself.
Oh.
So like it helps me to know and be cognizant, because these are things that I do like just naturally by default.
Okay.
So this, by calling them out, helps me to see, okay, I need to dial that back. Like, because that pressure for her does not motivate her, it deflates her.
Oh my gosh, that goes on in my house as well. Because I think David and my son are the exact same way. We just experienced that this week.
Yeah.
Oh.
So again,
I just called it my husband on the podcast, but
yeah. Well, and you probably just called him a name, like you didn't like understand like the why.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Either out loud or under your breath.
Yeah.
So, okay, two more. Okay. You find others are to blame for most of the issues in your life.
Okay.
You know, so I think we all get to a point where like that person has that problem. That person does this. But the only common factor is you. We've talked about the Bob principle a lot. Yeah. And we don't like the word Bob principle because your dad's name is Bob.
My dad's name is Bob.
Yes. Yeah. Last one, you find it annoying when others expect you to know how they feel.
Read that again.
You find it annoying when others expect you to know how they feel.
Oh, okay.
You know, so again, it's kind of like if you're very self-reflecting, if you're very in your own world, you're not really being considerate of others. You don't really spend time thinking of, you're not empathetic, right?
Okay.
You're not thinking of, how is it, if I do this decision or if I make this call at work, how is this going to affect my team? How is this going to affect this person differently from this person? You know, like you're all like, well, I just have to make the decision.
Well, but in some way, okay, so a little devil's advocate here from a workplace perspective. When you have a team of employees who are all different, right? When you're trying to assess, because at some level you do have to make a decision. It can't be how everybody feels about all the things. You have to make a decision, but you're trying to balance keeping that in mind. But all of their feelings could be in various different directions. So how do you...
Well, and there's a study, and we'll talk about it throughout this time of like, you have the most effective leaders can balance being tough and nice.
Okay.
So you're kind, but you're a driver.
You're good at that.
Well, I've had to learn, and I'm still
really
improving in that. I'm not I can definitely get better at that. My default is to just drive. And then something will come out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, no. You know, like that was mean or that was cruel or, you know, like so where I've had to work on.
For you years ago. I'm glad now.
You probably
you're doing great now. I think you do really well at that, so I'm glad I didn't.
But I still have, you know, but if I let it go, like for me, this has been good too. Like if I get stagnant, because these are things, you know, they're like, it's like gardening. Like you constantly have to be doing things to your garden to get good produce out of it, right? So this is the same thing. Like I haven't done some of these skills for a while. I haven't really considered them. And I'm like, oh, that's a good reminder. Oh, you know, again, like the self-awareness, you can only increase, but you have to kind of keep it up. Okay. You can't just be like a one and done. Which is why EQ changes. You can improve in all of these things.
This makes it kind of sheds some light on all of the questions that I answered.
Yeah.
This sheds light on why those questions are asked the way they are. Because if you've never taken it, they're very. I did tell Shannon after. I'm like, these are very broad, vague questions. Yeah. I'm not comfortable. I'm like sometimes I'm not like, because sometimes it's one of the options, and I'm so driven, which I'm sure that will come out in EQ that I'm not a decision maker. But. So I'm emotionally mature that way. But I'm like, sometimes, I don't know, I know they're vague on purpose.
Yeah.
But for me, because I'm such a details person, I'm like, do you have to define the stressful
situation,
please?
I need more factual circumstances in this example, please.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No, that's really good.
Keep going.
So another, I think, again, why EQ? Because, you know, we could have picked a lot of topics that we wanted. It's important for our listeners to learn on this show. I want people to have fun, and I want people this to be an easy listen, but I also want you to be smarter after it. You know, there are well enough things in our lives that we sit down and watch and we're like, yeah, I'm dumber because of that half an hour. You know? I want the opposite here. And so EQ, not only, again, relationally and business-wise. So out of 733 multimillionaires, they had to rate the top factors responsible for their success.
Okay.
And so all of these, we're going to just name the top 5, but all of these are all reflections of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So kind of the best of the best. Like what makes them different? How do they go about things? Like why does it matter? And so number 1, being honest with all people was one of their most important factors for success. Being well-disciplined, getting along with people, having a supportive spouse.
Oh.
Which kind of surprised me. Working harder than most people. You know, you got to have the, you got to have the work ethic. You got to have the hustle. And what was interesting is they also pulled these 733 multimillionaires. The average SAT score was only 1190 at 1600. I mean, you would think like if you're a multimillionaire, maybe you had, 1450 on your SAT.
Me, though. Did that surprise you? That
a little bit.
Me.
It actually was encouraging because I think mine was like a 1060. So
I don't even remember what mine was, but it doesn't surprise me that you remember yours. I don't even because
it was so bad. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But here's the average high school GPA, 2.92. on a 4.0 scale, which surprised me. Like I was never great at standardized tests, but I always did well on my GPA.
So you cheated?
No.
I'm totally kidding.
No, yeah.
Totally kidding.
I was like the dork in the front row, even in college. I was like, I know. I mean, I was not well liked.
You were that.
No,
You were
I was
that girl.
Oh, I was a brown noser. I had all that. Yeah. But, it served me well because I had great relationships with teachers and I got good grades.
You are a suck up.
But I feel like that's part of the EQ of like learning. That's what I tried to teach. Yes. I used all tools necessary
yes, you did, even
that
at
were
that age.
Ethical.
Yeah.
To get,
You have an end goal in mind.
Yes.
And you know how
and
to
it's
get
not it's not from a manipulative point of view. It's more of a scrappy point of like, I want to get where I'm going. So whatever I need to learn or whatever I need to do, like I'm just scrappy. It's not about intelligence.
Sure. Well, you're a hustler and you're scrappy. Look at you.
Right. Look at me. Thank you for joining today. I hope that you tune in on YouTube, Copy Talk Podcast, on our website, copytalkpodcast.com, Facebook, Instagram.
If you're enjoying the show, send us a message. We'd love to hear from
you.
Give us your thoughts.
Send us some topics you'd like to hear about. We really want active feedback from our community, and you all have been great doing that. So thank you.
Thank you to our listeners.
And we will talk again next week.
Bye.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor. Shannon Ross is CEO and managing partner of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated.